Have you ever found yourself in a moment so challenging that it felt like everything was spiraling out of control? Well, grab a cozy spot because I've got two stories to share with you, straight from a friend's life that might just change the way you see things. These stories aren't just any stories. They're about the unseen power of visualization and mindfulness. Stick around and let's explore together how two very different days unfolded for my friends. A few Saturdays ago, my friend Sarah and I were taking a leisurely walk in the park. It was a beautiful afternoon. We thought it would be a perfect chance to play with the kids and catch up on life. It was a very nice and calm day in the park. We could hear the laughter of our kids playing in the background. It was hard contrast to the story Sarah was about to share. Almost in tears, she looked at me and asked if she could tell me about a particularly challenging day she recently experienced. I was concerned and immediately assured her I was there for her. Sarah took a deep breath and began, it was one of those days where I felt like I was drowning under a wave of endless tasks. And to top it off, I really needed some support from Brad. But he was so caught up in his own work that I felt completely alone in it all. The moment that really broke her was when she desperately needed to prepare for an important work presentation. But her little one was having a tough day, crying and needing constant attention. She was at her wit's end, feeling utterly overwhelmed and isolated. Sarah took a moment to gather her thoughts before proceeding. The day just kept spiraling. Rushing from one thing to the next, her patience was hanging by a thread. And then, as if on cue, her computer decided to crash right before the most important presentation of her month. There wasn't a moment to breathe or regroup, just instant plunge into panic. She looked away for a second, just lost in her memories. By the time she got home, she was met with more chaos. The living room was a disaster, dinner wasn't even started, and her little one, he needed her more than ever, battling a fever and seeking comfort. She had this smile on her face, that one that spoke more of exhaustion than amusement. I could really have used an extra pair of hands, she said. Her voice had a little bit of regret in it. But it wasn't as if Brad was off somewhere ignoring them. He was swamped with his own mountain of work, trapped in a day that was just as relentless. They were both struggling to stay afloat. As our walk was nearing the end, Sarah shared one last bit from that trying day. There was this moment, she told me in a low voice, when everything just came to a halt. Our son accidentally knocked over his juice cup, staining the carpet. It was silly, really, how small things can be the last straw. But in that instant, she just lost it. The frustration and exhaustion of the day poured out into her reaction, far more intense than just what spilled juice warranted. She paused, taking a deep breath, as if reliving that moment drained her all over again. And then she continued, that night, as I tucked him into bed, the weight of the day settled heavily on my shoulders. I felt so defeated, overwhelmed by this sharp sting of failure, as if I'd let down not just myself, but my family too. There wasn't a single moment where I allowed myself to stop, to breathe, to imagine a sliver of peace during this chaos. It was just constant, relentless push from one challenge to the next, without any space for calm or reflection. Sarah's story ended as we reached the end of our park trail. The afternoon sun casting long shadows on our path. But she told me, there was a hint of resolve in her tone. It's days like that which reminds me of the strength I didn't know I had. And it makes me wonder how different things could be if I found a way to pause, even for just a moment, to find that calm within the storm. Here's another story I believe you will easily identify with. My friend Jessica and I found ourselves sitting in the corner of our local coffee bar, a spot that we take as our refuge from those days when the world outside feels a bit too heavy. The comforting hum of the conversation around us is the perfect backdrop for deeper talks. And over our favorite blends, Jessica began to share a story about her son Jake. That story had been weighing on her heart. Jake, who had just turned 11, was at that tricky age where the world seems both grow bigger and more complicated overnight. Jessica is a devoted mom. She navigates the choppy waters of single parenting with grace I always have admired. But lately, Jake's behavior had presented a new set of challenges, testing the limits of that grace. She started, Jake's been having a tough time at school and at home too. It's like all the rules have changed, and we're both struggling to keep up. Her voice, usually so steady, betrayed a hint of uncertainty, a glimpse of how vulnerable she felt at that moment. The day Jessica described was not unlike many others we talked about, filled with the usual rush to get Jake ready for school, the stress of her demanding job, and the perpetual balancing act of household responsibilities. It was a particular afternoon's challenge with Jake that Jessica felt compelled to share. It offered me insight into their daily dynamics that resonated deeply with me. She shared this incident over Jake's homework. Jessica described how Jake had been struggling with the school assignments. She said, I asked him to sit down and focus on his homework, but he just couldn't seem to settle. Jessica told me instead of the usual cycle of reminders and reprimands, she tried a different tactic. She said, I sat next to him, silently, just being there alongside with him, without urging him to hurry or scold him for being distracted. It was a quiet solidarity, a silent support he wasn't used to from her mom. Gradually, Jake calmed down, his attention returned to his work, and the homework was completed with far less stress than usual. Another day, the issue was with Jake not listening when asked to be gentler with their cat. And that led to a minor scratch. It wasn't about punishing him for not listening, but rather taking a moment to discuss why being gentle is important. Jessica explained they talked about empathy, about seeing things from the furry friend's perspective. It was a conversation, not a lecture, and I think it made a real impact on him. As we finished our drinks, Jessica's stories left me with much to ponder about the power of presence, patience, and empathy in navigating the complexities of life. I see it with my own. It's a journey on every day, and we're all learning a little more about how to walk it together. Reflecting on the journeys of Sarah and Jessica provides a powerful illustration of how mindfulness and perspective can profoundly affect our daily lives. Sarah's story unfolds as a testament to the overwhelming force of unchecked stress and the isolating feeling of handling it all without support. Her narrative is one of a struggle where the absence of mindfulness amplifies the chaos of life's demands, leading to a crescendo of frustration and exhaustion. It's a relatable tale of being caught in the relentless current of responsibilities without taking a moment to breathe or seek the calm within. In contrast, Jessica's approach with her son Jake showcases a deliberate pivot towards mindfulness in parenting. Faced with behavior challenges and the stress of single parenting, Jessica chooses presence, patience, and empathy as her tools, rather than succumbing to the immediate reflex of frustration and anger. Her story is a gentle reminder of the strength found in quiet solidarity, the impact on empathy in communication, and the transformative power of understanding and support. Jessica's moments with Jake, from navigating homework struggles to learning lessons in gentleness, highlights the subtle but very profound shift that can occur when we choose to respond rather than react. The difference between Sarah's and Jessica's experiences underscores the essence of mindfulness as a practice, not just for personal tranquility, but as a foundation for strengthening relationships. While Sarah's day spirals in the absence of mindfulness, leading to a feeling of defeat and isolation, Jessica's mindful approach not only mitigates stress, but also fosters a deeper bond between her and Jake, turning challenges into opportunities for growth and connection. These stories illuminate the power of mindfulness to transform not only our own state of being, but also how we interact with those around us. It's not about eradicating challenges, but changing how we engage with them, finding strength in calmness and empowerment in empathy. As we navigate the complexities of life, these stories invite us to consider how moments of mindfulness can be woven into the fabric of our daily lives, offering a path towards a more centered, peaceful, and connected experience. So, what do you think? Could visualization and a mindful pause be the secret ingredients to turning a chaotic day into one of calm and empowerment? I invite you to try it out for yourself. And don't forget, we'll dive even deeper into this topic on Thursday in part 2 of our journey into mindfulness for empowerment, embracing your inner strength. If you'd like to embrace your inner strength and learn how mindfulness can empower you, I am sharing additional information in my blog. Head over to www.getpositivelyiinspired.com, where you'll find more good stuff and good book recommendations. And don't forget to subscribe. There is so much more coming, and you won't want to miss any of it. See you on Thursday. Live on purpose!